I have been a solopreneur, an independent person most of my career. I love seeing clients in the peace and quiet of my own office. Over the years, I developed my own technique and wanted to share my vision with others, along with interacting with peers whose values were aligned with mine. So I joined Maxwell Leadership. After being in mentorship for a year, I decided to share my office space with three other colleagues. I did that, but it wasn't very long before I ran into a stumbling block with the third colleague. Being a new leader with others, I didn't have the skill set yet to know how to vet them. I had to learn to trust my ability, take responsibility for the communication process, and act as the leader. I learned a valuable lesson that day as I chose to see stumbling blocks as stepping stones. I continue to practice getting out of my comfort zone. Everyone was on board, giving my vision first priority over how the space would be used. I realized my need to continue to build trust. The team respected me, though, for my honesty, being committed to what I believed in, and choosing to see more and before with them. I was worthy of their trust, and they bought in not only to me, but my vision.
One of the most successful days of my career and the hardest decisions of my life happened in the same 5 minutes.
Mm.
As I sat across from my chief executive director for my annual review, my team and I had just exceeded a $10 million fundraising goal by $800,000. It was a great review. For the first time in my nonprofit career, I was given a bonus. I was still smiling when he said, "And I need a favor." I said, "Okay." He needed me to compile and deliver his secretary's performance review. He made his expectation clear. She had exceeded all areas in his opinion. That wasn't my experience with her. She did not support me or my team well. And she was also not my direct report. I left that office completely conflicted. His reputation told me what would happen if I didn't comply. I also knew what would happen to me if I did comply. So I prayed, I thought, I called a trusted friend who ran an HR department in another organization. After a few days, I wrote that review from my authentic voice as I viewed her performance. He stopped speaking to me immediately. He wouldn't respond to my emails, wouldn't talk to me in meetings, walked right past me, made every strategic decision I needed to make. It felt as though I were walking through fog. A few weeks later, I went out on a planned medical leave. While I was gone, my position was replaced. Authenticity comes with a cost, sometimes enormous, sometimes smaller than you feared. Mine was my job. And I won't pretend that didn't impact my life. We buy into a leader before we buy into their vision. When I walked out of that office with my bonus and my burden, I had a choice. Either decision had a cost. I chose to buy into my integrity, and I have never lost sleep over that decision.
And because of that, I will share with you that I'm very grateful that I made a decision to go into real estate, and I've had the career I've had in the real estate industry right now for 40 years. And I'm also very grateful for the times I got the opportunity to lead others. I was very committed to making sure that the people that came to work with me were going to be successful. I will admit to you that there was a piece of it to make sure that those people who came to work with me wanted to be successful from the lessons I learned in my prior life. They wanted to have a plan. They knew what they were doing this for. And as John Maxwell says, one of my favorite quotes, as a leader, your success is measured by your ability to actually take the people where they need to go. But you can only do that if the people first buy into you. I was an active recruiter. That's part of the job of a leader, a real estate branch manager, a broker. And in my recruiting processes, my interviews were very specific. How can I help you get where you want to go? Let's do a plan together. Let me be your mentor. Let me be your support system. Let me be your coach. Let me work with you to help you consistently stay accountable to what you want to have and why. And I did that. And it was true joy for me. My career has been absolutely wonderful, but I always wanted to be that manager, that leader, that person who didn't do what I'd experienced prior to. I always wanted to be the leader that had the vision for my company, for my offices, and for the agents that I worked with, to get them to where they wanted to go, to help them overcome their fear, to teach them how to be more successful. I remember once when someone called me a success junkie, and I said, "Well, what does that mean?" And they said, "It isn't about you, it's about their success." And I said, "Absolutely," which was true. Let me help you get there. And because they trusted me and they believed in me and they knew I would never leave them there by themselves, we achieved those goals. It's a true honor that I've had the opportunity to have people come through my world that continued on to be incredibly successful real estate professionals. It's a blessing. And it's because they knew I was focused on them. And that's all because of the lessons I learned earlier in my career.